On the 6th of August, 1945, one bomb, little boy, exploded over Hiroshima with an estimated yield of about 15 kilotons of TNT. Now here's the line that sounds impossible. Only about 0.7 grams of matter, about the mass of a small paperclip, was converted into energy in that explosion. So how can less than a gram destroy a city? Because that 0.7 grams wasn't fuel that burned up. The way gasoline burns. It was mass that disappeared and became energy. According to the most famous equation in physics, E equals mc, c is the speed of light. And when you square it, you get an outrageously large number. That means even a tiny m can become a terrifyingly large E. Let's make it real with numbers, because this is where your intuition fails. And math brings it back to earth. The bomb's yield is often described as 15 kilotons of TNT. 1 ton of TNT equivalent is about 4.184 G. Gay. Joules, so 15 kilotons is 15,000 tons, which comes out to roughly 6.31010 joules of energy. That's 63 trillion joules. Now take that energy and divide by C10 to about 91010. And you get roughly 7 ton 10 kilograms, about 0.7 grams. That's where the number comes from. Now here's the next thing people get wrong. They imagine the bomb used up 0.7 grams of uranium. And that was it, number. In a nuclear explosion, much more material participates in fission, but only a tiny fraction of the mass is actually converted into energy. The rest becomes fission fragments, leftover material, and radiation products. So what is fission doing that chemistry can't? Chemical explosions, like TNT, rearrange electrons in atoms that releases energy stored in chemical bonds, which is strong on a human scale, but tiny on a nuclear scale. Nuclear fission rearranges the nucleus itself. When a heavy nucleus splits into smaller, chaya, nuclei, the products end up more tightly bound than the original. And that difference in binding energy is released as kinetic energy and radiation. The scale is completely different. Now here's something even more important. It's not just how much energy, it's how fast it's released. A city isn't destroyed just because a lot of energy exists. A city is destroyed. Because a lot of energy is released in a very short time, in a very small space, in Hiroshima. The bomb exploded in the air, about 580 meters above the city. That decision maximized the blast. When that energy was released almost instantly, the surrounding air turned into a shock wave. Pressure rose so fast, buildings didn't shake. Hay failed. Windows became flying blades. Structures collapsed. Fires ignited across the city. And then those fires spread, sometimes merging into firestorms, turning destruction into a self-feeding system. And this is the part you cannot separate from the physics. The human cost, tens of thousands of people died in moments, and many more in the days, months, and years that followed. So when someone says 0.7 grams destroyed Hiroshima, what they really mean is something deeper. Mass is stored energy. We live in a universe where even a tiny amount of matter contains enormous energy locked inside it, and nuclear reactions are one way to release it. Don't misunderstand the lesson. It's not just that small things can cause big explosions. It's that small mass becomes enormous energy because CCE is enormous. That's why nuclear weapons are in a completely different category. Not because of a trick, but because of the fundamental rules of the universe. And here's one more uncomfortable truth. This isn't exotic physics. It's the same principle. That powers the Sunday stars shine, because a small amount of mass is constantly being converted into energy The difference is control in stars. It's stable. In a weapon, it's a runaway release. If you want the real answer in one sentence, Hiroshima wasn't destroyed by 0.7 grams of uranium. It was destroyed because about 0.7 grams of mass was converted into energy released violently in an instant over a city